Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Wine. Welcome back to art class. Today we're going to be starting our final Notan inspired collage. So you will need your background paper that you painted. If you don't have a painted paper, you could use a plain piece of construction paper. You will also need either glue or glue stick. We don't need those till later, so I'm going to set them aside. You need scissors. And you need either white or black paper. Now, this paper is a square that is 5 inches by 5 inches. So the first thing I have to decide is which color is going to be best for my collage. Remember, Notan is all about balance between dark and light shapes. So I have to look at my background and I have to ask myself which sheet of paper stands out or is easier to see from my background paper. That's the paper that creates the most contrast. So I think I'm going to go with white. Then you also might want to have your practice collage so that you can remember the different ways that we cut shapes when we were first learning about Notan. And remember, we're keeping all of our paper, so I'm keeping both the positive space shape, the shape I cut out, and I'm keeping the negative space shape. But the difference today is, instead of just cutting out one shape from one side, I'm going to be cutting out shapes from each side of the sheet of paper. I want to make sure that I do not cut my corners off. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space. I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut out one of those weird, wiggly, organic shapes. I want to work to cut nice and smooth lines. I can make my shape look however I want. And I'm going to make sure that I come back and I leave both of my corners intact. I don't do any trimming so that I can see this shape would fit right back down in like a puzzle piece. So I know if I want to create balance, if I have a shape on this side, I want to do another shape on this side. I don't have to make it the exact same, but I do want to make sure that those shapes are about the same size. I don't want to cut too close to the edge because I don't want to cut my whole paper in half. That would be a disaster. And I don't cut off the corner, so I leave both my corners intact. And I have my second shape. Now, I want to cut out shapes from both sides. So if I want to go to the other side, maybe on the other side I could do a geometric shape. I could just make this one easy. Maybe I cut out a big triangle here. I make sure that it fits down in. And I do the same thing on this side. Maybe I don't want a triangle there. Maybe I'll do a trapezoid. It's kind of like a triangle with the top cut off. So I cut over, and this. And then I have, oh, where's my trapezoid? Oh, here, this way. And then I have my trapezoid that fits in there. Okay? Once I am finished with that, I am ready to start gluing my negative shape in because I'm done cutting my negative shape. So I'm going to take the shapes that I cut out, I'm going to set them aside so I don't lose them. And now I have a choice to make. I can glue this onto my background paper so that it's in a square orientation so that my corners line up with the edge of the paper horizontally and vertically. Or I could turn it up like a diamond And if it's like a diamond, I really have to, this was a little trickier, I have to make sure that it points straight up and down, and these points are straight to the side. What I don't want to do is have it sort of like halfway between a diamond and a square, because that gets a little confusing. I think today I'm going to start this one out like a square shape. So I'm ready to glue. I can either use glue stick or glue bottle, whichever one I'm best at. And just like you learned in kindergarten, you never want to put the glue on the background paper because you don't know where to put the glue. So now I'm going to move my background paper to the side. I like to get a scrap sheet of paper, an old newspaper or a magazine, and I'm going to put this shape down, and I'm actually going to use glue bottle. So I'm going to twist it open, and glue bottle can be really tricky for this too, because if I get too much glue, it's all going to squirt out the sides. I open it at the bottom, and then remember I want to touch the tip to my paper. And I'm just going to carefully trace a very thin line of glue around the edge. Super, super, super skinny. My glue bottle's a little clogged. That actually helps me make a skinny line. You want to be careful about getting too much glue because you don't want that glue to squirt out the sides. So I'm just putting glue all around the edge of my shape. And I know it's very hard to see because it's white glue on white paper, but if I hold it up close, you can see how thin my line of glue. That's because I was touching the bottle to the paper, not holding it close, touching. Then I can take my background paper, I can flip this over, and I really want to make sure that I'm gluing this right about in the middle of my paper. I want to line it up as best I can, nice and straight. And then very carefully, I'm going to push it down. Because I'm gluing on a painted paper, I might need to hold it for a few moments. And if any glue does squirt out the sides, that's where I want to take my fingers, wipe it off. Now, I could be done for this week. If all I want to do for my final collage is a single flip, then I'm done. I just need to make sure I save these pieces for next week. I don't want to do any gluing, just want to make sure I don't lose anything. But if you want to do the challenge move, and if you want to do the double flip, then you have some more cutting to do. I'm finished with my glue. So if I have glue bottle, I want to twist it closed, wipe it off. If I used glue stick, I want to make sure that it's twisted down before I put the lid on. And now I can cut that second shape. So remember, I want to cut the shape from the flat edge, and I want to leave a little bit of space. So maybe since I have an organic shape here, maybe I'll cut a geometric shape out of the inside. Maybe I'll do a square on this one. So I'm just going to cut out a square. And then I'm going to save both pieces. Okay, I want to save everything. So I'm saving all of that today. Not gluing, just saving. Maybe I'll do the same thing out of this one. Oh, this one I see a really big area. Maybe I'll try to cut a semicircle out of there, half of a circle. So I'll start over here. I will turn, turn, turn. Turn, turn, turn. And then I'm going to save all of this so I know everything fits back together. Now, since I cut geometric shapes out of my organic shapes, I'm going to cut some organic shapes out of my geometric shapes. So I find the big, long, flat side, and now I can cut a weird, wiggly, organic shape out of there. Again, I want to be really careful not to cut the shape off so I don't go too close to the edge. There we go. And I don't do any trimming. And I see that that's going to fit back down inside here. And that's going to fit down inside there. And that just leaves me one more shape. So I have to make sure I cut it from the same side. I don't want to cut it from the top. I have to know which side I'm cutting from. And one more weird, wiggly, organic shape. Not cutting too close to the edge. Saving myself a little room where I can glue. And that's it. So I want to save all of my shapes for next week. I recommend if you have some sort of a Ziploc bag, you could take all of those extra shapes and you could put them down inside the Ziploc bag so you will have them to work with next week. I hope you have a wonderful week. I cannot wait to see the interesting shapes that you cut. And until next week, keep on creating.